you're like, right, now we're gonna kick off and do some. But before we kick
Everyone's so different. I feel like everyone has a different style to how they set up and get, because like I feel like I've been on other people's podcasts where they're like, all right, let's like do a bit of like warm up and then hit record. And then there's other people who are like, let's take a screenshot and let's like get comfortable and then record. And so it's always fun to see how other people run their podcast.
For me, it's something we've done almost like intermittently, and I'm just starting to really crank it up. And I've got Rohan just to kind of double the approach. Got Rohan to start speaking to people. So spoke to Sean Reed yesterday, who's like an Irish.
Sean's wonderful. I've had him on mine. Yeah. He has a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah. So I think they spent more time talking about non-related CS stuff, which is great because it kind of shows the personality of the people that are out there. But let's dive in.
Hit record. Okay.
Let's
record.
We are recording, but I'm like, come on, holy hell, we're like 9 minutes in. Crikey.
I can talk about everything and anything.
No, I love it.
You can take that if you want.
I love it. We should get together soon, actually. Next time I'm in the city, we should grab a coffee and we should.
Yeah. Tell me when, and I'll plan to, like, if I'm not like doing stuff like that I'm scheduled for, I'll come in and have a coffee.
Would love to do that. Right, we're back with another episode of Doing It for Attention. I'm joined by Anika Zubair, who you may not know her name, but you probably already know her voice through listening to any podcast to do with customer success. So thank you so much for jumping on. Really great to have you here. And actually, we spent quite a bit of time together, not just on pods, face to face, but we even graced the stage together recently at LinkedIn's HQ, which was really good fun, actually. Really enjoyed that.
It was. I think that I have loved I'll call it a friendship, Luke. I will call you a friend. But I have loved watching it over the years. Obviously, like seeing you grow your business, but also working within the customer success space. I think our paths have crossed a number of times, and it's been really fun sharing stage, sharing a mic, but also just sharing genuine conversations about what the job market's doing, what the customer success field is doing. I really appreciate all our conversations and the banter that we're able to have.
Likewise. Well, for anyone listening to this, can you, high level, tell us about you? And I'm not going to call you a consultant, don't worry.
I know, because it's become such a dirty word. And I'm sorry to the consultants that truly own that word. But thanks for the introduction already. I do have a podcast. I think I get told that to people as well. Like, people come up to me like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize who you were until I heard your voice. And so, my name is Anika Zubair, as Luke's kindly introduced me. I have spent 16 years as a B2B SaaS operator. I spent my early part of my career in the dreaded cold calling SDR, BDR role, early days, and then moved into account management long before customer success was ever coined a thing. And then moved into, actually, I was interviewing for an AE role. And then they said, we think you'd be a great CSM at the company that I was interviewing at. Got a CSM role, then quickly fast-tracked my career, went from CSM to VP of Customer Success in less than 7 years. And spent, again, like I said, the last 10 years in executive leadership. And just this last year, I've decided to break out on my own and build my company, the Customer Success Pro, where we help train, enable, and coach customer success professionals to be the next revenue generating teams, revenue generating leaders, really just helping enable CS teams become a bigger part of the revenue conversation, which they always have been, but I feel like there's been skills and practice that's been missing in CS. And so that's really where I've been in the last year, actually the last 16, but especially the last year.
Yeah, you say where the skills have perhaps been missing in that area, but I also think the enthusiasm to be associated with revenue.
Yeah, everyone finds it's dirty. Everyone finds it so funny. And I just find it so hilarious because it's all about framing of something, because I think you and I talked about this before. It's something I've talked about in the pod, like a renewal, which is what customer success either directly or indirectly is responsible for, is a sale at the end of the day. I don't care if you have contracts where it's like auto renew. I don't care if it takes 6 months to opt out of your contracts. No one has to stay in your contract forever. They can cancel in a month. They can cancel in a year, whatever the timeline is. No one is bought in and has to stay with your product once they sell and once they sign on the dotted line. You have to constantly be selling. Now, whether you're in product marketing, whether you're in customer success, whether you're even in finance and procurement, whatever, you are selling your product and service every single day that you show up and log
Yeah.
on to your computer. And I think that CS really hates that. And I think it's because of the rivalry between CS and sales, but also I know a lot of people have come into CS from other departments, other parts of either tech or non-tech roles, and they're like, I don't want to sell because it's hard, it's icky, it's not for me, whatever
Yeah.
the reason is.
Yeah, I think sometimes as well, it's an escapism from being like an SDR or an
Yeah.
account exec, maybe perhaps not being fantastic within that role and sort of setting the world on fire and seeing CS as something that's maybe a bit more comfortable, a bit easier. And I think the last 2 years have proven it's a lot more difficult than that. But I'm gonna ask every guest I speak to the same question. Uh, what is customer success?
Everything and anything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And I feel like that question can be interpreted in so many ways. I'm pretty sure your guests have said, "Oh, well, it depends." That's
yeah, yeah,
another great answer to customer success. I really think it is the enablement of success for your customers once they have decided to use your product. So once they've decided to actually hit the buy button, sign this contract, once they've like committed to using or purchasing your product, everything thereafter is a customer success. Now, is that onboarding? Is it adoption? Is it support? Is it renewal and upsell conversations? Is it, advisory and product use cases? All of that, I think, is tied into success of your customers and clients. And I also, and as you know, I really do think it's tied to your customers' revenue growth as
yeah,
much as your revenue growth in your own business. So I think
yeah.
that's, if I can summarize, that's what I'd say.
Yeah, I think that's something we agreed on because we didn't agree on everything, but we kind of did this, didn't we? We were kind of agreeing,
Yeah.
disagreeing on certain things, but the alignment shift of not just thinking about very kind of surface level feedback from customers and health scoring and dashboards that give indicators around customer sentiment. It's actually thinking beyond that and being completely tied in with your customers' objectives and understanding like what pain are they actually feeling, and how does our software solve that, and then how can I get close to that. And I think from my perspective as a recruiter, that's why I'm seeing a lot more demand at the moment for domain experience and just understanding. And you know what, Dave Jackson mentioned something really relevant. He said that domain gap will be filled with AI. You can upskill yourself quite quickly, but on the same side, I think actually having that emotional connection to, oh shit, yeah, we went through that. I'm an ex-marketing professional and I now work for a MarTech platform, and I remember how difficult it was to schedule content and how much time it took and the impact, et cetera, and just being able to relate that to your customers. I think it adds another kind of layer of credibility to any CSM that can think
Yeah, for
like their
sure.
customers. We package it up as empathy, right? And
Understanding, empathy, ability to relate,
yeah,
all those things.
yeah, and I think that's thrown around a lot as it's table stakes. You should be empathetic, but actually think about the depth of empathy that you can have with your customers, and then the impact you can have by really understanding what it's like to walk in their shoes, what their
Yep.
conversations with the CFO might sound like if they're not delivering a project on time that they've spent a lot of money on. So it's all those types of things I think are really interesting.
It is. And I think a CSM is multifaceted at this point. I think a lot of people are trying to put CS or a customer success manager into certain boxes to fit,
Yeah,
I guess, the evolution of SaaS that we're on, because I do believe in that. Like, as
yeah,
someone who's been in CS for coming up 14 years now, it's not
well,
the same. Like, it
yeah,
never has been. And I think that, like, if I look back to my first CSM role back in 2012, I was told CSAT and onboarding time were my like number one
yeah. That's
KPIs.
your
Now
North Star.
I could never imagine today having a team where that is the main driver.
Yeah,
But I think customer success managers get put into these, like, I don't want to call them annual boxes, but give it like a year or 18 months where the evolution of CS keeps evolving. And like you just
yeah,
said, AI and domain experience, I think that there's a lot of change happening in customer success, which means that CSMs keep being told, okay, we'll be more technical. Because honestly, I'd say like 8 years ago, that was extremely critical because buyers were extremely technical about like the tech stack they were building, how
Yeah.
they were integrating with multiple products, what they were thinking of when it came to automations, workflows,
Mm.
etc. But I think that again, it shifted in the pandemic where it was like, cool, now cash is cheap, or right before the pandemic and right after, like cash is cheap. It doesn't matter if our tools talk to one another or not. Like, we just need to get the right tool to solve this one small problem.
Yeah.
So again, CSMs maybe became domain experts because it's like, oh, we're selling super niche, super like directed towards CFOs or to CTOs or whatever the direct buyer was. And now because we're in like, I mean, I'm going to say we're in a recession because everyone keeps skirting around it, but it's
Mm.
been 2 years of stagnation of
Yeah.
the economy, both here in the UK and the US. And I think that if we look back at it, it's been a tough few years, both from a company growth perspective, hiring perspective, you name it.
Yeah.
And because of that, like CSMs are now more than ever are like, your job is like protect and grow revenue
Mm.
in some capacity because it's no longer as easy to go and say we need to niche and find these new customers or we need to go invest in this market. Like, yes, companies are doing that, but they're also realizing it's hemorrhaging them lots of funds and they're not able to grow at the pace they were doing in 2019, 2020, 2021. And now the CSM is in this new evolution of revenue or
Yeah.
retention or growth or however you want to box it.
Yeah.
And soon it will be also AI as well because I think that's the next quantum leap that we are going to take.
It's really interesting you used the word recession. And I think if you zoom out and look at kind of the stock market, the S&P is at an all-time high. There's a lot of inflated metrics. Investment is really high. We've had a huge quarter of investment, but when you actually
Yeah.
dig into that investment,
Yeah.
it's very heavily geared towards AI. So it's not that there's a lot of people getting Series A, Series B right now. There's a lot of AI companies achieving that, but the money seems to be flowing in kind of one direction, which means there are many companies in non-AI related spaces, as in, yes, they might be building some AI tooling, but they're not AI first, that are just, yeah, that they've got a lot of pressure on them. And I think that's where a lot of the hiring pressure comes from.
For
And
sure. 100%.
and I think actually when CSMs are looking for work, and a big part of us talking today is to talk about that kind of that journey of looking for opportunities, they need to exercise, we use the word empathy again, the empathy skill of your business and understand kind of what's your business pressure at the moment, what's your CEO feeling, are they pushing for investment, are they struggling to get it, and then understand that's why there is a lot more pressure on understanding what value are we getting from each department. And the revenue line has always been a thread that runs through customer success, but maybe you haven't had to own it as much. But I think now just taking that initiative to really understand it and to own it, it is going to help with your value in the organization. Kind of shying away from it is just going to make it hard for your CEO and CFO conversations to look at your department and go, this is a really great value add department, because they just can't
Yeah.
tie it to revenue.
Yeah.
And I think that's a responsibility of people in the CS, not just the business, to kind of hand it to you and
No, for sure.
tell you what the metrics should be.
Yeah. I think also it's just we've done a really bad job of taking credit for the work we've done,
Yeah.
if I'm completely honest. Like we tend to do the work that's necessary to help a business grow. Like, oh, we're acquiring so much, so like 2019 to 2021, 22, acquisition was wild. Again, cash was cheap,
Yeah.
investment was easier. Companies were spending so much money on like top of funnel marketing, generating new leads, closing new business, which meant CSMs were onboarding at unbelievable. I remember when I was hiring and onboarding new CSMs and onboarding new customers in 21, I could not hire fast enough. I could not get my CSMs
Didn't work
ramped
with
up.
us.
Yeah, I know. I did not work with you. I could not, I couldn't do it. It was just so crazy. And again, that era of, hey, we were growing and that's what the business wanted us to do. But I think coming back to my point is we just undervalue what we bring in customer success, which
Yeah,
is like
agreed.
we are business growth strategists. Now, whether we're growing our own company logo, so the company we're working for, or our customers' companies, like I do hope that as we move into whatever's next in CS, that we start realizing that a lot of our role is business growth strategist, whether again, helping our customers grow in their own businesses using our product or service, which thus hopefully helps our company and our CEOs see that that's what we do every single day, whether it's onboarding, revenue conversations, churn conversations, doesn't matter. We're business consultants. And I think that that's where the next understanding of how CS impacts on value, because I think we focus on such little parts. We focus on like, oh, we've onboarded this many customers, or we've reduced churn, or like we really minimize our work when really at the end of the day, we're all helping the business grow. Like if you ever hear sales and marketing talk about what they do, we bring in leads to help the business grow. We close deals to help the business grow. CSMs, oh, I onboard customers or I retain customers.
Yeah.
But then for what purpose? To what end?
Yeah, it's a really interesting point because it's evident in CVs. So we work on the broader GTM space. And for those who don't know, what we do as a business, we support scale-up companies from pre-seed to sort of Series C, work with some PE-backed organizations as well, and help them find high-performing GTM talent, which CS 100% sits in. They're
100%, but don't own it enough.
Yeah,
We don't own it enough.
exactly. And what the common theme I see is, like you said, marketing, very, very clear. We generate X number of MQLs, or if someone writes on their CV, attended an event, right, or organized events, it will always have to drive through X number of leads into the top of the funnel. They can basically map out, I did this activity and it drove the following outcome. Sales is exactly the same. Generated X number of self-serve appointments per month, which led to a 1 in 3 conversion rate with an average order value of 15K. And my target for the year was 100K. I hit 150K. It's like, great. It'd be a lot higher than that, but example. And then CS is this kind of muddy area of, well, we didn't really look after that. And it becomes a list of activities. So ran QBRs, looked after enterprise accounts. There's just a list of, these are the things that I did, but not, and this isn't always, but a lot of the time there's no mention of what the outcome was for that activity. So to your point earlier around, we onboard customers. Well, how fast did you onboard them? What was it when you joined? Okay, it took 12 weeks to onboard a customer. I reduced that to 4 weeks. Okay, well, that's an amazing metric, and that shows a huge amount of value. And the strange one is the NRR conversation, and just hearing, we don't track that in our business. So, okay, do you know how to calculate it? It's really
Most
simple.
don't, by the way. Very few CSMs actually know how to calculate their NRR or GRR. Now,
We made
I
a
run courses
calculator
and
for it.
programs, and I'm like, I have CSMs who come in who are like, oh my gosh, how do I do this? And I'm like, oh wow, I didn't realize that this isn't being not just taught, but like
Yeah.
shared. Like as when I was a VP of customer success, I had slide decks that I went through with my team on a weekly or minimum monthly basis of here's where we're at, here's where we're aiming to go, here's the delta, and here's what we got to do.
Yeah.
And I feel that again, CS is under so much pressure right now. We're under such a like ability, like we have to deliver even more thanks to
Yeah.
AI. Like we have to do even more than what we've already done, which CS was already stretched before AI.
Yeah.
And now it's like AI is stretching us even more. And leaders are like forgetting that their CSMs need to understand what these metrics even mean and how to actually achieve them because they want to. Most CSMs I work with and most of the customer teams I end up helping and working with, they all are very hungry to do the job.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone in CS is like, I'm just trying to use AI to be lazy or I'm just trying to like automate everything. No, like these are some of the hardest working people I think in SaaS.
Yeah.
But again, the clarity of like what's the impact of the work I'm doing? What is the outcome that I'm driving? And how do I articulate that both obviously with my boss and internally, but then on my CV or to my next boss, because most of them don't even know how to articulate their value, whether it's written in a CV, but I've also seen it in interviews. And I'm like, this person's brilliant, but they're clearly not actually articulating all the impact that they've been able to drive through activities, but never outcomes. And I'm like, wow, I can't believe we work with outcomes every day with our customers, but we can't seem to do it for ourselves.
So true. And I would say a really useful exercise for any CSM or CS leader even listening to this, or a salesperson, marketer that doesn't have a CV written around outcomes, which would be fairly unlikely, but just spend some time doing it. And actually, if you're not targeted on NRR, just jump onto Claude, ChatGPT, and just ask it, how do I calculate NRR in my business? Ask me questions that will give you the information you need to give me an NRR score. And then you can put that on your CV, assuming it's
But like,
a
just ask. I don't know why
yeah,
people are so
yeah,
like,
yeah,
okay, there's AI now. Okay, I'm going to date myself, but it was Google when I was first a CS leader. And I was like, Google, tell me how to calculate. This is my annual recurring, like, this is what my revenue is. This is
yeah,
what, like, and I had asked Google, I'm like, how do I calculate MRR, ARR, GRR, NRR? Because I too, at
yeah,
some point in my career, was like, these are new metrics. I need to understand them because I know it's important to report to the board, but I also need to know the story behind these numbers because
yeah,
it's not just the metrics, which are very important, don't get me wrong, but coming back to articulating the value we actually drive internally, we
yeah,
really do such a bad job at this,
yeah,
honestly. And I know I did a bad job for a long time until I got into the executive seat, but it's a learning process, and I hope that with the amount of content that's out there these days, AI, everything, like
yeah,
I hope everyone that's listening or just even thinking like, how do I articulate value? Like there's so much out there that we should be, like you said, copying from marketing and sales. Like they are so
yeah.
good at it. Like, do I think sometimes it's over the top and they think they do own all the go-to market? Sure. They definitely do. They definitely act like that.
What friction
But
between CS and
I
sales
know
all of a
exactly.
sudden? This
Friction
is
between
strange.
sales and CS. I don't know what that means. But in general, they're so good at articulating their revenue outcomes and
Yeah,
revenue impact within a business. And I truly, that's how I got good at it. I had an exceptional VP of sales as my very first leader when I was a head of CS. I listened to him at board meetings. I listened to him at executive team meetings. I was like, he's so articulate, not only with the number and the KPI, but the impact, like one step further, the impact that is driving at the top level of business, which is growth. Like any company, I'm sorry, unless you're like a charity, a nonprofit, is trying to grow. So if you
yeah.
just think of it that simply, it's like, how do my numbers help this business grow? And then get really, really good at articulating that.
Yeah. And if you start by even just figuring out on your CV how to articulate your value, what you'll find when you're interviewing is it's a rehearsed script almost. You then understand your value more. So when you're talking through examples of, oh, I did this for the following business, I looked after a book of 5 enterprise accounts. That might be your statement typically. But if you're like, oh, I looked after a book of 5 enterprise accounts and I grew that by 15% as I was responsible for the following initiatives, and then it's such a more valuable conversation, because one thing leaders hate, and I'll speak on your behalf, is you see a CV where they're working perhaps for a company where you think that's a good company. I'm quite excited to speak to them. They've got good tenure. And then when you speak to them, you're having to extract commercial information that is, they've got it. They do understand it, but it's buried deep within them because it's almost not the priority. It's not the thing that I'm focused on. But if you ask the right questions, you can get it out of them. And then actually you spend such a long time in the interview focused on the numbers and the detail, you lose the probably one of the most important parts of the interview, which is the cultural kind of human to human part, where you can make a really great connection with someone. So I think if you can put all that information up front, and I'm not saying you should put every single thing on your CV, because that'd be ridiculous, but you could strip your CV down by 50% if you just focus on a couple of activities with some really clear commercial outcomes and impact for you, your business and the customers. And then you can spend the interview just layering on top of that, but showing your personality, talking through how you did it, being really confident in putting yourself across, which will enable the hiring manager to think, yeah, you're really good for our business, but you know what you're great for? Our customers.
Yeah,
And
100%.
and that's how people hire within CS. And not just thinking about, do you fit within our business? It's, do you connect with our decision maker, our customers? It's really, really
For
important.
sure. For sure. And the ability to hold a conversation, like you just said, the ability to tell a story. I've read your CV. ATS has like told me exactly what I need to know out of your CV. Like if I wanted to just read your CV, I'd ask AI. I wouldn't I wouldn't want to have a conversation with you for 30, 45 minutes, an hour, however long the interview is. I want to know how you articulate what's on this piece of paper in
Yeah.
front of me. And I think that a lot of times, and I've had plenty of interviews, I've interviewed hundreds and hundreds of CSMs, and it's just like, I also count how many minutes they talk for before they actually even have a conversation with me. Like, if you've talked for more than 4 minutes and not asked me back a question or double check that I'm actually paying attention, my customers are going to fall asleep.
Yeah.
Like, executives have the shortest attention span. Like, I know we all as humans have very short attention spans
Yeah.
thanks to like TikTok these days. But
Yeah.
aside from that, aside from social media taking all our attention, executives, the ones I'm expecting you to be in front of, the one I'm expecting my CSM to have a conversation, show value, handle a renewal conversation, handle tough conversations, that executive has like a few minutes before they're already checking their email, their Slacks, whatever it is, and they've moved on. So
Yeah.
are you able to keep me engaged and keep me present in this conversation? And an interview is exactly that. Like, I
Yeah.
really want to be able to understand, okay, yes, the value you bring, yes, answer my questions, but keep it engaging. Like, you've made it past all the paperwork that is an application, that is sometimes a cover letter, that is, like application systems checking all the keywords. You've made it past all the admin AI bots, whatever.
Yeah.
You have this moment to truly shine. And the very first hiring manager interview is usually what I'd say is me basically, I know this sounds rude, judging how you're going to sit in front of my customer
Yeah.
and how you're actually going to present. And if you can't do that with me, how am I going to be able to trust that you walk into a room where there's 5 people for a QBR that you've never met and you're able to actually hold that conversation?
Yeah. Awesome. We post so much content on how to construct a CV, what you should focus on. So I don't think we should dive too much into that, but I'd be really interested to understand through the hiring process. Let's say the CV is good enough. They've applied for a position. There's hundreds of applications, which is typical for many businesses. But to be clear, a lot of those applications won't be fantastic. You already have an advantage if you're talking commercial numbers on your CV, 100%. But volume can wash people away sometimes. So what would you say to a candidate on the market right now who's looking for work, applying for lots of roles? How can they kind of stand out to let's say someone like you, hiring manager?
Can I say 3 things they shouldn't do, and then I'll give them tips on what they can do?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I was like, there's some things that are definitely not working, which I know a lot of people are doing.
Yeah.
First, the AI comments in everyone's LinkedIn right now, like trying to sound smarter or however you want to frame it in some comments, whether it's company post, hiring manager post,
Yeah.
we all can see it. Like, literally, CS leaders have group chats where we talk about the AI comments. Like, everyone can see that it's an AI comment or some sort of format that you've decided to just mass comment on a whole bunch of posts to try to get more attention and be seen.
So
I get it.
Just
Like,
to ask about
it-
are they
yeah.
are they running an agent on that? What are they dumping it
I
in?
don't know what, because almost, okay, first of all, it's almost always re-paraphrasing the post that I've just posted about. It's then tagging me, my full name at Anika Zubair in the comment, and then it's always asking a question because they want me to. So whatever prompt you guys are all figuring out, whatever copy paste is happening, everyone's doing it, and this is just as bad as 500,000 people applying for a job that doesn't even have the right skills attached, right? Like, I do think now that we have AI, the level that you have to be at to compete is different because like, content is cheap, getting people's attention is harder, and a lot of people copying and pasting like AI comments in all the hiring managers places, not gonna work. Sorry, it's mostly ignored, and people, it's just like sending out a blank application at this point. So that's one thing I will say that is definitely not working, and I see it everywhere. And I don't know why people think that's going to get them noticed more. It's just going to be more noise.
Yeah.
The second thing I'll say is just, I get it's a tough job market, and I know a lot of people are looking, but the blanket, hey, I'd love to pick your brain, or hey, I want to reach out. I almost feel, Luke, and I'm going to be really honest, I feel like the pandemic has ruined what human networking and what genuine relationship building looks like. Because I've also experienced this in person. Obviously, LinkedIn DMs are the worst for it, But I was just speaking at another event last week, and people came up to me saying, I met them for the first time. They might know me. Great. You've seen my content, you've engaged with me, but they've come up and say, "Hey, I'd love you to do XYZ for me."
I'd love to get you on my podcast.
Yeah, but I'm just like, but
Sorry.
no, but we've built a relationship.
I
Do
know,
you know
I'm
what I mean? Like
joking. I'm
we've gotten
joking.
to know each other, and I'm more than happy to help. So is most people in customer success,
Yeah.
by the way. But the fact that we're like you're like going on a first date with someone, and then you're asking them to like go home with them. I know that sounds
Yeah.
crude, but that's basically what we are doing with networking these days. And I'm like, do you not realize that even in networking, whether it's cold LinkedIn DMs or at events,
Yeah.
you need to get to know the human first. And like, I just find it wild that people rip off the band-aid and like, hey, introduce me to this hiring manager, or hey, can you do this for me? I'm like, first, I don't know who you are. I have no idea like if you're actually good at your job or not. And I also have a reputation. So if I'm going to introduce you to said hiring manager in my network, they're going to look at me and say, "Oh, Anika introduced that person to me, and now they're really actually crap."
Yeah.
That looks bad on me, right? And so that's the second thing. I'm like, please stop the awkward networking of just asking for something before you get to know someone. And then the third thing I will say is just like sending inundated messages to hiring managers again and again and again. Like I have seen 3 messages sometimes come into my, and I'm like, if I'm not responding, what are you expecting here? Like, why are you continuously thinking more is more for some reason? Those
Yeah.
are like the 3 things I'm seeing that I'm like, can we please stop with that? And I know we're at a place of desperation, and I know it's tough times, but it's not helping. And it's just, honestly, it's wasting your energy.
Yeah.
Like you're spending energy on the wrong activities, I would say. And those are 3 things I'd say are bad. Can I give a tip of what works?
Yeah, I'll just if I can just piggyback on
Yeah,
that
of
as
course.
well, because we obviously see it a lot,
Yeah.
and like everything you've said there, I 100% agree with. People need to kind of reframe again empathy. Have a think if you were in that seat and you were receiving those messages at scale as well, not just from one person. You're a busy exec, you're a busy head of, you have business pressure to hire the right person. You 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 need to give them a reason to want to speak to you. You need to try and put yourself in their shoes and think, what does this person need to hear to give them confidence that I'm someone they should speak to? And
Yep.
unfortunately, when you give someone an instruction and say you need to reach out to hiring managers directly, but you need to do so with value, unfortunately, a lot of the time what happens is, like you said, hey, it'd be great to pick your brains about that job. That a lot of the time leads to, oh, I did see that the role was 3 days a week in London. Would you flex that? And it's like, well, hang on, I don't even know what value you offer here. And you're asking me a question which is clearly defined on the job spec. So
Yep.
my point is, I think there's probably not enough time spent almost like researching and understanding your decision maker before applying, because you're in that more is more type mindset. But what you need to realize, and this is a real candid home truth, if you mass apply, you might be forgotten about, and then you apply in 6 months and maybe you're more relevant to the role. But if you do bad things lots of times, it compounds and you get remembered. And we remember people.
100%.
Like we between me and Rohan, and we don't have like a blacklist of anyone, because we want to support everyone we can to find opportunities. We're not judging people. We're trying to help them. But we do remember those that will apply for 15 jobs. In fact, just so anyone watching this knows, I can see every job you've applied to at ABR in the last 12 months. And sometimes people have
Oh,
applied to 17 different jobs, literally.
wow.
One's a head of customer success, one's a delivery lead, one could be a CSM, one could be a support manager. And it's like, I don't know what this person wants or what they stand for. And actually, you're now just becoming known for the wrong reasons. And it's the same if you
100%.
message hiring managers with no relevance and no reason for why you should speak to me, you're just going to be remembered for the wrong reason. So the right way to do it, this is what I would always say, is is just find opportunities where you can relate your experience. If you haven't got the domain experience, you can relate it. Oh, I see you guys are in the HR tech space. I worked for a recruitment technology dealing with HR decision makers, and we managed to grow our NRR from 105% to 135% through a very similar channel to what I've seen you guys are using at the moment. I'd love to share that with you. If it makes sense to have a 15-minute call, I'm totally open to your diary whenever you're free. Would love to chat to you. And that's a pretty made up on the spot, terrible outreach, but it's
No, but still,
100 times better.
It's way more genuine. It's
Yeah.
way more research. And I think, what's so funny is how we were saying earlier that CS doesn't want to be in sales. Well, if you're job hunting, by the way, you're in sales.
Yeah.
Every single day you are prospecting to find the right company, the right hiring manager, the right job. You are doing prospecting, which is what salespeople do every single day. Exactly what Luke just said is what a great salesperson is going to log on to they're going to go look for their decision maker. They're going to look for the companies they have to target. They have to come up with a good opening line, script, whatever you want to call it, and then go approach that person to see if that resonates, right? And if the pain and the problem resonates and the value that they can bring resonates. Same is happening right now in the job market. You are prospecting and selling every single day. Yeah. And I have to say that CS is so bad at it because, again, they think it's more is more. And and on the flip side of those three bad things I just said, like, instead of spending so much time doing, oh, can I pick your brain? Can I just learn how to genuinely, just how you build a relationship with your customers? No, I know it sucks. It's hard right now. Truly, there's layoffs every week, which is just hard to see and read. Yeah. But know that just like you work weeks, if not months, to build a relationship with your customers, you need to work weeks, if not months, to build a relationship with a hiring manager. It is not going to, and of course the role might come and go, by the way, in the time that you build that relationship, but what's going to happen is you're going to be on the good list instead of the banned list or the blacklist that maybe exists, maybe doesn't, but you will actually be remembered as someone who, oh my gosh, they did the right work. And I've done that in my career where someone's networked with me and I'm like, the next time I have a job open in the location that you're in, you are the first person I call. And I did. I called that person and he said, actually, Anika, I'm really happy where I am right now. So thank you. But I did remember him because he prospected or networked correctly with me. And the other thing I'll say, which it sounds crazy, but instead of wasting your time doing more and just sending cold DMs or whatever it is, if you don't want to do the prospecting that Luke has clearly highlighted, I would actually then focus on building something really cool with your time. AI is out there, build something really cool, share it on LinkedIn instead of being an AI commenter or instead of being a cold DMer. And then yes, it might get you some traction, but maybe you build, I saw this really cool thing. This guy built a Claude dashboard on all his jobs and all the activities he has to do on a daily basis. And he started sharing that. And he was day 90 of being laid off. Here's what I've built with my, yeah, exactly. And that got him so much interest. And right now, hiring managers, as much as I hate to say it, are looking for CSMs to be forward deployed engineers in some sense, where it's how are you using AI to up level our industry and our space? And it's instead of spending the 1-2 hours that you're copying and pasting this DM to, I don't know how many hundreds of hiring managers, why don't you build something cool with AI, take a screenshot of it, share it on LinkedIn and saying, also, by the way, what I don't think a lot of people do is actually put a call to action. I am looking for work. This is the type of work I deliver. I'd love to chat. DMs are open. You'd be surprised at how much comes inbound to you over doing cold outbound incorrectly, I would say, when it comes to job hunting.
Interviewing and assessment starts before the interview, right?
100%. Oh my God, I creep all over your LinkedIn profile before I even talk to you.
Yeah, exactly.
I need to see what you do, how you've done it, because a CV is so polished. A CV is what you want me to see, right? And I think LinkedIn and also other social medias are going to be the future of how people end up hiring. Have you been on podcasts? Have you done talks? Have you actually built, whether it's a real strong personal brand or just awareness of all the work you've done, that just shows me that you are highly motivated, highly driven, someone that's going to come in and get stuff done. Yeah. I want that person on my team.
Yeah. Familiarity, breeds advocacy and, we're connected to that person. They're probably worth having a look at. Oh, I saw they're on the podcast with Anika. And you can, and again, going back to the outreach part, you then have more points of relevance and points of reference to that
Yeah.
potential decision maker. So, oh,
Yeah.
hey, Anika, I saw you're on a podcast with Luke Bartram. I was actually on a podcast with him about three
Yeah.
months ago where I talked through an AI tool I built to showcase the following for your customer base. Funnily enough, I've just found
Yeah.
myself in the position of redundancy. They already know you're hiring, but they might say, if you guys are ever looking to hire, would love to pick your brains. I think I could be a strong addition to the business. No
Yeah.
pressure. Here's my
No,
Calendly
exactly.
link.
Expect to know.
Yeah.
Like that's a great message. It's a great way to lean in and have that conversation. But I think a lot of people also expect yeses. That's another thing in CS where
Yeah.
we were talking about sales, where sales grooms you to expect to know.
Yeah.
But for some reason in CS, because we're the nice guy, the empathetic person,
Yeah.
the one that everyone loves to get yeses from, we expect yeses from other people. That's a great way that Luke just targeted, someone saying like, hey, I know someone, I've done X with them, I see that you're doing something similar. Great way to reach out to someone, but still expect to know, by the way. And I think it sucks, but it is the reality. And I think another way I've seen it work really well is I have people in my network that are looking for work and they've built a relationship with me. And yes, I do have quite a few connections and I've worked my network really well. And they say, hey, Anika, you are connected with this person. This is what you are connected for them. Like, this is why you're connected. This is what you've done. Can you introduce me with X, Y, and Z? I've seen that work really well. There's two CSMs that I've landed into interview processes because they've reached
Amazing.
out with the mannerism of, I see you're connected to this person. This is the value I bring to that person. And this is, if you introduce me, this is what you should say. Like almost putting my pitch together
Yeah.
for someone else,
Make it
right?
easy. Like, don't
Make
make
it
work for
easy.
you.
And like,
Just
I'm happy to help. I really am, but I'm time poor, just like everyone else in the world. And it's like, if you want to really get the job, make it easy for me. And sure enough, again, they used me as their leverage of connection and the point of like, oh, this person is actually someone that has a leg to stand on because they know another CS leader. I'm going to now at least have an introductory conversation
yeah.
done. They had an introductory conversation. They started to go through a process because suddenly they've gotten a foot in the door. So if you really want to get a foot in the door, instead of like bombarding the cold messages, like really work on the prospecting that Luke just highlighted and then use and leverage your network in a more, I'd say, authentic and like value driven way.
Yeah. I think we've organically lent into the what you should do, but let's dive
Yeah,
into
I
that.
think so. I
Yeah.
started with like, please stop the mess because it's such a noise. It's so much noise. Like,
Yeah.
and I truly, as someone who's gone through multiple layoffs where I've had to lay off my team, but I've also had to go through layoffs myself, like, I get it. It is tough and it is only going to get tougher. Sadly, I sound like my mom. I sound old. I'm like, it's life only gets tougher, unfortunately. I don't
Yeah.
think it ever gets easier. And I think it is going to get tougher. The job market isn't going to be as easy breezy as what it was before, but know that there are smart ways to network, to prospect, to actually land your new role other than just more is more, like we've said.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Good stuff. Where's there an example where you've had a candidate that's just kind of blown you away? And what did they do? And we might have kind of covered it, but yeah, what have you seen from a candidate that's just completely wowed you in a interview process?
Yeah. I know this is so cliche, but above and beyond of what my pain point is, and then telling me how he's going to help fix said pain point.
Yeah.
So he did the right discovery in our first initial conversation. And I absolutely like his name's Vish. I hired him. He's at Gainsight now.
Oh, awesome.
But yeah, it was when I was at Incited, and I remember
Shout out to
I
Vish.
yeah, like I mean, I still text Vish on WhatsApp and stuff. So I'm like, Vish knows I rate him highly. But when we were in the interview process, he too, by the way, I think he had worked, but he finished his master's. So he took a few years out, finished his master's, and now was looking for work again. And in the very first hiring manager, he already presented well. I knew he was going to be a strong candidate. I was going to move him forward regardless because he met the role requirement. I liked him. But he spent time in that first hiring manager interview really asking me a very simple question, which again, light bulb, but he was like, hey, Nika, if I was hired for this role, what was the first thing I can do to really help like unburden you or help make sure you have more time back in the day? Like at the end of the day, your job is to make your manager look really great, right? Like I did that to my higher ups,
Yeah.
but for the first time I was asked it in an interview where I was like, actually, it would be totally amazing to rebuild like via use case. And he went and built it. He built it before he was even guaranteed next steps into the hiring process, and he just built a skeleton. Okay, there was he knew very little, but he built it, and he was just like, "Hey, this is what if I were hired. This is based on what you've said in our call. I think this would be a great starting point." Now, did he do like 5 hours of work? No, but maybe he did like an hour of two of research, understanding the customer use case, understanding how we did onboarding. But he asked genuine discovery questions of me, like, hey, that's cool that you want to build this. Like, why is it not working? What is it that, like he
Yeah.
spent time in an interview getting to know not just our product, but the problem that we were facing in our customer success team at the moment.
Yeah.
And then he came back. It was an email, it was an outline, it was like a project plan essentially.
Amazing.
Until this day, I was like, he could bomb everything else in the interview process, but there's no way I'm not hiring this person to be a part of my team.
How long do you think it takes to realize in that initial interview that this person is like a superstar? I don't want to
I think it was
progress
the
them.
first 10 minutes
Yeah.
of the call. Like once we got it through the niceties of introductions and like, who are you? What do you want? Like once he started having a conversation with me and like truly, I really hope people take that too. Like an interview is a conversation.
Yeah.
Like I feel like everyone sees it as like this tense moment of hiring manager ask question, you answer. Hiring manager ask question, you answer. And yes, of course, there is a degree to that, but don't be afraid to be like, oh, I'm curious. Like even if the hiring manager asks about your experience at a certain company, flip it around once you've answered it, saying like, does that align to what this role is looking for? Because I saw that my enterprise experience directly aligns with this. Can you tell me a little bit more about the enterprise experience in this role? Like flip it around, have a conversation, because that just tells me that your ability to critically think, your ability to have a conversation, again, coming back to how I'm going to present in front of a customer, makes all the difference, truly. Like it makes me realize in the first 10 minutes, okay, you're just not a bot answering
Yeah.
questions. You are a human having a conversation.
When did you interview Vish? Do you remember the year?
Gosh,
Roughly.
21, I want to
21.
say.
Okay, so 21. 21 would have been quite I'd say an easier time as well to
Oh,
secure a role.
100%. He had other offers. He
Yeah.
had he had three competing offers when I did give him an offer.
So I think I guess my point on that, and I'm glad you said it was around then and not not recently, because my point is that's someone taking that initiative when the market's in their favor, when there's not as many CS professionals out there, but there are a shed load of companies hiring. And that's proving concept even then, and they're having lots of different offers for lots of businesses, and eventually working for arguably one of the leading CS businesses, certainly from a thought leader perspective. Maybe not so much now Nick's left. It's probably changed a little bit,
It's
but
changed a little, but I mean,
still an
I think
amazing
the whole
business.
CSP space is changing a lot in general.
Agreed. But I think that's kind of just testament to like this stuff works, and there's so many examples, and we probably just need to share more. Like hearing people like Vish, we probably need to share more real world examples of it. But on the kind of inverse, what's the worst thing you've seen in an interview? And we definitely won't share this person's name.
Yeah, I'm not sharing any names because that would be I would be banned. I'd be
Yeah.
on blacklist myself.
Yeah. Well, you get
I
sued
think
if you were in the States still. So
yeah, I think the worst I've seen is oh my gosh, someone during a QBR presentation was like eating, like started to eat while doing the presentation, like as in like how you do a mock QBR, right?
yeah,
And again, at the time, we made it fairly easy. We're like, do it based on your company or do it based on a brand you like. You don't have to learn our product and service. We just want to see how you deliver a business review to a client.
yeah.
And this person, while like presenting and then pausing for questions, was like eating chips. Okay. Like actually eating during an interview. I was just thinking, like, how like desperate are unless you have like some sort of medical reason that your blood sugar is low, but again you could excuse yourself and tell your audience like, hey,
Preface.
sorry, I just need to take a sip of water or
Yeah.
I need to eat something, whatever. But it was constant, like anytime we were asking questions, like because it was a panel of us, so it was three of us that were in this interview for this QBR presentation, like this person kept eating while we were Well, we were asking them questions and I could not believe it. And like we were on Slack, like the three of us, like, is this really happening? Like, is this person eating while interviewing? And we just could not believe that that was like that happened, really. That has to be one of the memorable moments
That's
of what
wild.
the heck is happening in this interview right now.
That's wild. I worked in internal recruitment for 6 years and probably sat over 2,000 interviews because we were hiring kind of SDR level candidates and bringing 14 of them on every single month. The company had quite high churn at the time. The there's many, but one that stands out to me is a candidate just made quite a few inappropriate references in the interview, and they were kind of quite sexual references. And it's kind of hard actually to say them because they were really inappropriate. Just they had to do a role play call, and just the word role play.
Oh God, I was like they took role play to a different level.
Yeah, she made an inappropriate comment about role play to me, and then when the other manager left to set her up, she then made a further comment to me, which even me, I can take banter, but I was like, this person, we're going to have to end this interview. Anyway, we just cut the interview short and said, look, really sorry, it's not what we're looking for this type of organization. Maybe for a different chat, outbound call experience, you'd be fantastic. But obviously didn't say that. Anyway,
Yeah.
they
I've
left.
definitely cut interviews short too, but it's because I've realized like within 15 minutes they're not the right person for this role. And I've apologized and said, thank you so much for your time, but I don't think actually there's an alignment for this role. I think that's harsh too, but I hope that people who realize that they're getting a no, it's for both people's benefit here. Like I don't want you to spend time thinking that you're going to get this job and spending 45 minutes on a call with me and not realizing like it's tough love. I get it. It's really rough, but hopefully that means you close the chapter too and you move on and you're like, right, not right company, not right fit, got to put my energy elsewhere. But it's another topic I'm sure we could dive way into, but it's like, it sucks, but it is tough love. And sometimes you have to do tough love on your own job interview, like your own process.
Yeah. Well, I got a text message from the hiring manager that I sat in the interview with about a week later. It was on a Saturday evening or whenever it was aired, but Naked Attraction was on. I don't know if you've ever seen that program before.
I'm not, no. But the words say a lot.
It's basically, it's a tacky dating show where the participants are all naked behind a screen, and the screens, there's probably 8 people, and the screens slowly come up, and then the person who wants to date one of them is picking them based on purely how they look with no clothes on, and they're fully naked. And the person we were interviewing was on that show.
Oh my God, how is it that you would want to even be on a show like that, first of all?
Well, it kind of started to piece together.
How is that allowed? Like, oh my gosh, like that's, I just think of like the long-term impact of your career where you've decided to be naked on, like, I'm guessing national television, and then suddenly, oh my God.
Like a Channel 4 show. It's massive. I've watched it once. Honestly. Cool. Well, look, I've kept you for quite some time. I've probably got some quick fire questions if you can.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Cool. Good. I could speak to you for hours.
I know we could do that. I feel like I, as a fellow podcaster, I could talk for hours, but we need to. I'm sure we need to wrap it up. We have day jobs to get back to.
So quick fire. What's the best book you've ever read that's helped with your career?
Ooh, it's gonna be non-conventional in a sense. It's called The Mountain Is You, and it's by Brianna West. Anything that she writes is very much about overcoming your self limitations or your helping your confidence, but also just making sure that you understand that you are probably your biggest barrier to success. Cool. And so what's in your brain. So Brianna West does a lot of really good books on this, but The Mountain Is You is a great one.
Awesome. Good. David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me.
Oh.
Probably a similar theme.
Yeah.
But very, very different.
Interesting. I'll have to go look at it. Because hers are really short. I love that they're easy reads, super short, and it's mostly about just challenging your limiting beliefs, which I think in your career, especially if you ever decide to become an entrepreneur, you're living in your limiting beliefs all the time.
Yeah, agreed. What's the best piece of advice you've ever had? That's just
imposter syndrome. Yeah, imposter syndrome means that you're actually doing something right.
Love it. Love it. What's the worst advice you've ever had?
Ooh, there's lots of bad advice. So much bad advice. Um, just keep going. It'll happen naturally. Or like in that vein of like, if you just keep doing what you're doing, you'll see success. And I don't think that's good advice at all. Because I think if you're constantly just doing something that's failing, doing something failing 100 times without changing
Yeah.
your strategy, you're just going to keep failing. Where I've been told, oh, just keep going, just keep doing the same thing again and again. It'll pay off. It doesn't.
It's this definition of insanity, isn't it?
It is. It is.
What's the one skill you would love to master at the click of your fingers?
That's so good. That's such a good question, Luke. Value storytelling. I think I do it
Okay.
anyways, but I think I would love in a moment, like in a split second, to know exactly how to articulate value in that conversation. I think I do it well in customer success, but I just think that
Yeah.
in general, no matter the situation, the ability to value storytell, I think that's something I would love to continue to work on as a skill.
Yeah. It's almost a superpower, but what would be your superpower?
The ability to turn relationships into revenue.
Nice. Nice.
The ability to make a customer relationship grow, essentially, like unlock revenue from an existing relationship.
Cool. Couple more. So who's better equipped naturally within customer success, male or female?
I think female, but I think it's because of the multifaceted part of the role. I think that the number of people, like the multitasking part of it. But I will also say that, and this is coming from a woman, some of my best CSMs have been men,
Yeah.
hilariously. But I think it's because women are extremely good at multitasking, but men are really, really good at executing. Meaning they don't like they will project like they might project plan, but they also will execute on it. Whereas I see some of the women that I've either hired or coached where they build wonderful plans. They've worked with a customer, but they're not taking that one step further on executing. I think that's just a gender thing I've noticed. Now, do I have all the answers? No, but it's just something I've noticed personally is like the ability to handle multiple accounts, project plan, women are way better at it. The ability to actually execute on said goals, definitely men.
Yeah. If Anika disappeared from the online space tomorrow, what mark would you want to leave? What would you want to be known for?
This is so deep. I don't
Sorry.
actually even want to be known for customer
I
success.
just warmed you up and now I'm going in. Like,
I'm like, this is like such a deep question. I would really love to remember that kindness is absolutely free and being kind will actually help you win in the world of business and everything else in between. So I hope that that's what I'd be remembered for, but I guess it would be mostly around revenue growth and customer success because that's all I talk about. But the deeper part of that question is that kindness is absolutely free, and I hope we remember that.
yeah. Awesome. Well, look, I've kept you long enough. We spent our first 10 minutes chewing the fat basically, but it's
Yeah.
always great to chat to you, whether it's online, in person, and I'm sure we'll get together soon. I'd love
Yes.
for you to just quickly tell anyone listening to this where they can find you, how they should reach out, and that'd be awesome.
Yeah. Well, you can find me on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/Anika Zubair. That's probably the easiest place to find me. I also have a podcast. It's called The Customer Success Pro. You can find it on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. And if you want any free resources, our website, thecustomersuccesspro.com, has tons of free stuff that you can utilize to grow revenue from your existing customer base.
Amazing. And we will link everything below, whether it's on YouTube, Spotify, and obviously LinkedIn. But Anika, thank you so much for jumping on. It's been a great episode, and
Yes, it's been
we'll
so much
catch up
fun.
very, very soon.
Yes. Thanks, Luke. Thanks for having me, and see you soon.